Good evening, friends. We'll start with today's session of the Organon. So, dear friends, we are discussing regarding the 50 millisimal potency, then its application, then the practical application of its uh, how to administer the 50 millisimal potency. All those things which are which are necessary in order to apply in case of um, in cases of chronic diseases, basically when you used to use the 50 millisimal scale, then all the pros and cons he tried to explain over there. But he never stopped at that level. He further goes beyond even explaining how much to repeat and how much not to repeat. So see, a very conscientious person, considering every minute difficulty of the future generation, he tried his level best to explain the concepts very clearly. We are unfortunate enough, we never read Organon with minute details as explained by Hahnemann. And that's why there are a lot of confusion happens to be there in people's mind, in students' mind. So there was a one homeopath, big homeopath, having a lot of seminars, etc. He called me yesterday and he asked me, sir, basically, yes, I'm doing practice, everything, I'm happy, but I could not understand exactly what is the difference between centesimal and 50 millisimal and LM decimal scale. When to administer decimal, when to administer 50 millisimal. Yes, I have rampant practice, everything. I used to do seminars here and foreign countries. But basic problem is that I could not understand what is the difference, what how it produces its own results. This happens because we have not understood the is basically the pharmaceutical aspect which Hahnemann tried to explain in the Organon of Medicine. So we were learning that aspect practically. And what exactly mean by Hahnemann when he uses the word large doses, etc. Those concepts should be clear in our mind so that it becomes very easy to understand what Hahnemann wants to say. Today we're going to learn only one aphorism. Uh, we'll go little bit slowly in order to understand all those clearly because many times there is a jumbling in people's mind. So we'll start with the 275. In earlier, he has explained that giving single simple remedy is the law of simplex, but he has added three words at one time. That is the words which he has added over there, and he explained it in two aphorisms, 273 and 74, where he explained in detail about law of simplex. Let us go ahead what he wants to say regarding the repetition of doses in 75. The suitableness of medicine for any given case of disease does not depend on its accurate homeopathic selection alone. See what he says, even though you have selected very perfect remedy on the basis of law of similar, that is not sufficient. See, the Hahnemann's words, these are the words of Hahnemann. Suitableness of a medicine for any given case of disease does not depend on its accurate homeopathic selection alone, but likewise on the proper size and rather smallness of the dose. See, he gives importance to two things, proper size and smallness of the dose. So what exactly mean by him? He wants to explain, that concept should be very clear in mind. What he says, if we give too strong a dose of a medicine, which may have been even quite homeopathically chosen for the morbid state before us, it must, withstanding the inherent beneficial character of its nature, prove injurious by its mere magnitude, by unnecessary, too strong impression, which, by virtue of its homeopathic similarity of the action, it makes upon vital force, which it attacks, and through the vital force, upon those parts of the organism which are the most sensitive and are already most affected by the natural disease. Here two things he wants to explain. When he used to use the word large doses or a strong dose means it is more material is present in that. Lower potency is the strong dose. When you go higher, then the material quantity becomes less and less. Keep it in your mind two important sentences regarding the potencies. In acute case, when you are selecting remedy and you select it on the susceptibility, the higher the susceptibility, higher the potency, very less repetition. In fact, 1 or 2 days is sufficient. If you go on repeating, it aggravates, it produces homeopathic aggravation over there. In acutes, it is not necessary because in acute susceptible states, the person is so susceptible that single dose of the accurately chosen homeopathic remedy is just sufficient to bring back again state of health and even to produce little bit homeopathic aggravation immediately after giving the dose. So it never requires so much of repetition. If you go on repeating in acutes, it used to produce definitely homeopathic aggravation. So for that purpose, it is so much necessary that you should not go on repeating specifically when you're dealing with the acutes. Now the question arises with the chronics. When you deal with the chronics and when the susceptibility is low, keep one more sentence in your mind. If the susceptibility is low, potency is low, repetition till the susceptibility get aroused. So till the patient's susceptibility comes normal, till that period you repeat and then you stop repeating this. These are the two norms. Keep it in your mind always, and then you will never have a big homeopathic aggravations over there, even though you choose a right remedy. Because what he says, if the patient comes to you, and specifically if you have chosen very perfect remedy, and if patient is in acute susceptible state and you have chosen a higher potency which depends upon the susceptibility of the patient. Patient's susceptibility is too high, his nerves are too sensitive, that's why he grabbed the disease, that's why he is having the disease. So you have chosen a right remedy and it is in the high potency. Then when you give the high potency, you should not repeat it. You should not give a repetition because every repetition used to produce a stimulating effect on the vital force, which is already in a higher susceptible state, in a disease state, used to cause a damage. And this is what he wants to explain over there. That if in cases of whenever you treat the patient, what he says last sentence is if we give too strong a dose of a medicine, which may have been even quite homeopathically chosen for the morbid state before us, it must, notwithstanding the inherent beneficial character of its nature, prove injurious by its mere magnitude. So if you go on repeating the doses, it will prove injurious. It will cause more damage. Why? The reason he has mentioned. And by the unnecessary, too strong impression, which by virtue of its homeopathic similarity of the action, it makes upon vital force, which it attacks, and through the vital force upon those parts of the organism which are most sensitive and are already most affected by the natural decay. So in such types of cases, there is a lot of problem. Already the vital force which is susceptible, disturbed, and because of which he grabbed the disease, it is already in a disease state. It is already in a susceptible state. It is already in a sensitive state. What it requires is another sensitivity, just little bit more than the natural disease, and you give him a right potency, little bit more than the natural disease, and that if you give single, it will not cause damage. But if you go on repeating larger doses, means if you are going repeating a day, in a day 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, it becomes injurious, it becomes harmful. It used to produce its own effects on the body. And those are very, very, very harmful, because that starts proving in that human. And that proving then to come back again becomes rather difficult, because it never subsides immediately. So patient who settled very nicely, just because of unnecessary repetition, you aggravate the thing. And that's why whenever you are choosing the remedies, basically when you think about the acutes, keep it in your mind. Even though you have selected very perfect remedy, and even you selected in a high potency, don't repeat in acutes. Second, if it is chronic, then you should not go for a higher. Then if it is a chronic, and if you go for a higher, it will definitely aggravate the patient's condition. It will not react in a proper manner. In chronic, you have to start with low, gradually go on increasing, and repeat only till the vitality starts coming back again to the normal. The susceptibility becomes normal. That is the only time you have to stop. So repetition is necessary whenever you are doing treatment in chronic diseases. But generally, when you are dealing with pathology, better potency is always a 50 millisimal, without which never causes so much of damage. And if you give even a centesimal, you must start with the low and gradually go up high every time. That is the plussing technique which we have learned in the earlier aphorisms in 250, 265 or 63, where he explained about the plussing technique, and that plussing technique never causes so much of damage. These two entities one must keep in their mind. So higher the acute the disease, susceptibility is higher, higher the potency, less repetition. If chronic disease, susceptibility is low, lower the potency, repetition till the susceptibility gets aroused. This law, keep it in your mind always, and that will work definitely in your practice. These two very essential laws one must bear in mind. So that is one thing he has mentioned. Why it happened? What are the problems which it develops? There is another aphorism along with two footnotes are there. The next aphorism is there, but there are two footnotes which we'll discuss in the next lecture, because those are again we have to understand them in detail. This is related with the same thing, but we have to understand two basically two important footnotes which are related with that paragraph, and those will finish on not on Monday but on Tuesday. Monday there will be no lecture. I have some big appointment. Uh, there is a one very nice um, psycho-oncology institute is developing. The inauguration is there in the Pune next Sunday, and being from all three faculties, they have asked the different peoples from homeopathic faculty. I was invited over there. So before that whole program, on that day, 2nd of July, that inauguration is there, followed by the seminar. I got chance to speak homeopathy and present homeopathy over there. So there is a pre-discussion meeting on that is there on Monday. So it is not possible to have a session on Monday. So tomorrow will be holiday, Sunday is holiday, Monday is holiday. We'll meet directly on Tuesday with this next aphorism and the footnotes. And uh, I'm lucky enough to get part and parcel of that psycho-oncology institute, which gives different perspective to look towards the things and to meet the peoples from the allopathy, from the Ayurveda, and two speakers which were coming from USA and UAE in that session. So it will be a good session for me and to learn something in that seminar. So we'll directly meet on Tuesday for this Organon session. If there are any queries regarding this, do ask. Otherwise, we'll conclude with the session. Any questions regarding the potency? Yes, there are many queries happens to be there in regarding the potencies. If doubts are there, always make them clear.
हॅलो.
हा मंजिरी बोल.
हा सर, सॉरी ऍक्च्युली सर, मी तुमची काही लेक्चर्स मिस केली, पण मी ती युट्यूब वरती फॉलो करते सगळी. अ, मला ऍक्च्युली या ह्याच्यात विचारायचं होतं सर, ते स्टेपिंग अप ऑफ पोटन्सीज ते कसं करायचं आणि केव्हा करायचं, म्हणजे असं मी काही सेमिनार्स मध्ये मी असं बघितलं होतं की 200चे 2 डोसेस, मग 30चे 2 डोसेस, मग 200चे, मग 1 mचे असे क्रॉनिक केसेस मध्ये दिले जातात. तर मग ते कधी आपण इंडिकेटेड आहे?
It is not like that 30, 200, 1M. It is not a sequence. If you are starting with 30, plusing technique is like that you have to start with 30 and you have to go ahead with 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. That is what is called as a plusing technique. You should not go for 30 and immediately next dosage 200 and immediately next 1M. Then there is no question of pharmacy. What is the logic in using them? If you are selecting 30, there must be some reason. If you are selecting 200, there must be some reason. If it is a 200, then you can go ahead. What Hahnemann says, by plusing technique, you can go ahead gradually from, if you have selected 200, then gradually 201, 2, 3, 4. And that in liquid potency, in liquid form, you can develop that, and you have to tell the patient how to utilize them. So that already we have discussed the earlier aphorisms. If you go through that regarding this, you will going to definitely get that answer. I think you have missed those plusing technique methods, but I think it is given in aphorism number 200 and around 262 or 63. I will exactly let you know in which where he has mentioned those.
Okay,
It is in the aphorism footnote to aphorism 247.
ओके.
Aphorism 247 to 48 footnotes are there where he has mentioned exactly how to go with plusing technique. It is not 30, 200, 1M. It is 30. If you are given 30, then you have to go gradually up 30, 31, 32 like that. And that method is mentioned over there.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything else? So we'll conclude today's session and we'll meet again on Tuesday with the next aphorism. We are on last concluding part of learning the 6th edition, but every aphorism, whatever Hahnemann have written, has its own meaning. So don't miss Organon. If you are clear with the Organon, your thoughts will be so clear. Then it never creates a fear in your mind while practicing. So thank you very much being there. We'll meet on Tuesday. Thanks a lot.